Alright everyone, I know it, you know it, we all know it. Well, I'm not sure on actually what we all know. To be honest with you, it's a complete variable. What I know is that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has a lot of potential for successful games that people will continue to play longer than a month, but the thing is what? Now, this isn't talking about the specific games game that people still like, including me, that has character issues. Heritage of the Future. But enough with the sidetracking conversation that still doesn't talk about the topic at hand directly. Here's the games that I thought about. The first one is going to be a heavily story anime fighter. Well, what do I mean by heavily story? Eyes of Heaven had answered one of the most important questions possible given by the franchise. That question being, what if Dio won? I'd like another story on the scale of that, but I'm not sure what you could have. Dio has always been the #1 antagonist of JoJo, and by #1 I mean he's the one that's always been after the Joestar bloodline, and that's something that transcends universes. To have something that can possibly contest the Eyes of Heaven story would be crazy in itself, but I would love to see it happen. You guys can make suggestions on what you would like to see. Personally, the only things I can think of is, what if this villain won? You could have Cars, Kira, Diavolo, Pucci, Valentine, any of those villains, and what if they won story. Adding on to the game, I believe that if you're going to have a game where the story is a humongous part of it, the fighting era isn't going to be a competitive game on the scale of something that you could possibly have at EVO. In a sense, this is JoJo's version of Storm. While the competitive scene would be lacking in this case, I would like it to be circulated around being an all-around game with a couple of modes I had in mind. The first mode I like seeing is in Endless Mode. Everyone is usually familiar on how endless modes go in video games, with it getting more difficult as it goes on. The benefit of the endless mode leads into unlocking character skins, game trophies, and something that I thought of as moments, which I'll elaborate on later. Endless mode being one of the many arcade modes I like in the game. The next mode either being a part of the story or in its own separate mode where it can be a different take on the story in a sense. The best name I could give this was the Aura Aura mode, where if you're familiar with Asura's Wrath or Asura's Wrath, you can understand where I'm going with this. Regular moments in the game made cinematic when getting towards the important parts of the fight and the story. When you get to cinematic moments, you have to match the prompt to get the best results possible and or to win. I thought of this being great when it comes to fights like Jotaro vs Anubis, Josuke vs Red Hot Chili Pepper, or Giorno vs Chocolata. Now, the modes after that was more on arcade games, meaning that it's you playing a game inside of a game. Those two games being Poker with Darby and Driving/Baseball with Darby. This isn't something that's a major ask. I just feel that JoJo has its fair share of odd. Also, just putting it in there, it can be one of those games that can teach things about other games that you probably wouldn't even play in real life. Although I would love to hear an interview with a professional poker player that's just like, yeah, I learned this game from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Finishing up my thoughts on the story-driven fighter, I'd like leaderboards for everything. And I mean everything. I want to see who is the #1 Giorno player, and I want to see who's the #1 F-Zero... Wait. Mario Kart... No. That's not one. J0 Kart player. I forgot the name of the driving thing. Yeah, that's about it. Now, the next idea is going to be a purely good fighter. The thing is, I'm not sure that the companies capable of making a good JoJo fighting game have been thinking about it or looking at the success of Dragon Ball FighterZ, because those are two forces that can get us with the best JoJo game possible. The issues with the ones that we have now, being Heritage of the Future and All-Star Battle, is mainly mechanics, balancing, and, well, they're old. Now, obviously, you can play both still, and I even play Heritage of the Future from time to time, but that time to time is a huge gap. It's not a lot, trust me. The best thing I can say for making the new fighting game is to remove and take. You remove what was wrong with the previous games, but you take great things from the games too. While characters weren't balanced in how they worked, and some mechanics were extremely odd, you can tell that the developers had taken their time with All-Star Battle in specific. Every move being a reference and cadences that not a lot of people would get right off the bat. The game was amazing for those paying attention to canon, and that's something I would never take away from it. It's just that now we have room for change, development, and growth. Also, this is a complete side note from the script. I'm gonna be real with you, Chief. The next JoJo fighting game is Capcom. I'm not sure exactly on how to take that, to be real with you, because if it was to be Capcom, let's think about what their track record is right now. You have Street Fighter V and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. You might as well have JoJo Monster Hunter, but back to the script. While the game can be something that gets people into the franchise, it's something that all of the fandom can indulge in besides the manga and anime. Because I'll tell you this right now, I would love to have fun playing a JoJo game on stream and playing with fans, but I can't deal with the online and Eyes of Heaven, and I can't be bothered to play ASB when I have Fighters, Guilty Gear, and soon to be Smash 5, which I will be playing on stream, and you can reach it at twitch.tv/KalebIA. But what else could I have aside from balanced characters and a unique moveset like All-Star Battle? Well, I believe that we should be getting new models and not reused All-Star Battle models. New stages too, and more unlockable skins. Either more unlockable skins or give me a character design feature with Chanel or Gucci clothing. Araki is hooked up with Gucci, people, and you know what that means. Everyone, you can get on Twitter, also follow me at Kaleb_IA. Hashtag give Jonathan Joestar Gucci flip-flops. But to finish this idea up, add leaderboards and possibly the moments feature that I had mentioned in the idea before this one, because that would also be great, because you would just love to hear the voice actors of insert character here going about a moment that happens in the manga. Be amazing, be amazing. Now, the final idea. You may be asking, Kaleb, is everything going to be about fighting? Well, yeah, I mean it has to have fighting in it, it's JoJo. But the next idea is going to be an RPG. Or well, not exactly sure on how to categorize this, but an RPG is the best generalized term. You play through the story of the part in question. We had done this with Vento Reo and got JoJo on the PlayStation, except this time I believe that it's not only a part in question, but two parts, because I believe that these two parts that you can do the most with, since how well they had came out to be in the ending, which makes them extremely possible in a game and also extremely marketable. Those two parts being Diamond is Unbreakable and Vento Reo. Why? Endgame. But on the topic of main game, you go through the part playing like you would in an RPG, maybe some Persona type gameplay, not sure, that's all in the air, you guys can be the deciders on that. But you have side missions where you can take the role of either someone on the side of the hero or someone on the side of the villain. For example, Diamond is Unbreakable, you can investigate certain odd things happen in Morio and solve problems. Or you can be Yoshikage Kira and just tactfully go for your kills in the town. In Vento Reo, you can prequel the hell out of the story for side quests and have Passione and La Squadra side missions, and you can have post-game missions where it's just missions being led by Giorno or Mista. That's not even going about the missions you can have during the game, like Diavolo personally taking care of problems or Bruno getting into trouble with enemy stand users. Back onto post-game. You can do so much with Diamond is Unbreakable. In specific, Rohan alone can have his own mode with how much he has to work with. And if we count novels with illustrations by Araki that he supports, that all can be incorporated into the game. Even if we don't incorporate those side novels, there's still Dead Man's Questions and Thus Spoke Rohan Kishibe, which is by Araki, which would mean that we can add this in directly. Though I would love to play Purple Haze Feedback. With all of these novels that we have that will probably never get animated aside from the Thus Spoke Rohan Kishibe series, we should be able to play through them instead. Or, well, I'm kind of astounded that we haven't got Dead Man's Questions animated. I would love to see that, honestly. Now, on the topic of main story and gameplay. Personally, I believe all they have to do is tweak things that were extremely unique in JoJo and have it updated to today's standards. There are so many RPGs to take from. I'm sure companies know what to do and what not to do. If anyone in the comments has an idea in specific, be sure to leave a comment addressing the RPG topic. But that's honestly about it that I all have for the RPG idea in question, so that's going to be it. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any other ideas in mind, leave them in the comments too. I'd love to see what your thoughts on this is like, or if there's just any games in general that you guys would love to see, some type of puzzle game, I'm guessing, just some oddball thing, whatever you guys want. Check out the community tab. If you guys already subscribed, check out the community tab from time to time. Notification bell, follow me on Twitter, Twitch, I'm not sure when. I'm going to have a poll about when everyone is active, because recently I just finished Kirby Star Allies on stream. So I'd love to see you guys there in the next stream. I'm not exactly sure on what game I'm playing. It's either another Kirby game or maybe Pokemon. Who knows? Make sure to check the community tab. gonna be putting polls there. I love doing it with you guys. Pause. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, peace out and Godspeed.